Welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. In this podcast, we discuss mystical works of literature and how they relate to recovery. We hope you enjoy today's podcast episode.
Hello, this is Buddy C. Welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. Today we have Brian and Craig. Good to have you guys. We got a small crowd today. We're going to talk about the 27th verse of the Tao Te Ching. We were going to talk about that with Sensei, but if he pops in, we'll discuss it with him. If not, we'll just have a discussion of it. A couple of announcements. We've stopped recording every week like we used to, and we're going to continue like this for the time being because the other Thursdays, we're having a meeting. Usually have more folks than this, but we have a meeting and discuss something recovery related and have more of a non-recorded meeting that people can talk a little more honestly, that are kind of a little afraid of being recorded, that would rather not talk about, some personal things that are going out on a podcast, which is understandable. So we'll talk about different Tao related and really more like an AA meeting with a Tao topic. And you got to remember with the Tao, it's not that we're Taoist. None of us are, but we learn that the principles of Taoism relate to our recovery, much like the principles of AA related to our ideas of God and a higher power. So it's not a religion. It's just that we saw how they fit very well, all the principles we talk about and all the literature that just speaks to us. So that's what we discuss in this podcast. If you've never listened, we'll probably continue with one a month. You can go to buddyc.org and get a lot of details of different things we have going on. We'll do this meeting at 4 p.m. on Eastern on Thursdays. Join the Facebook group. Our links in the episode notes. And then you can get the link from that to come to our meeting. Or we use the same link for Tuesday night. The link, if you just go directly to the Zoom link, it's taaameeting.com. And that's a direct link to the Zoom link for this meeting and the 9 p.m. Eastern meeting on Tuesdays. Be logged into your Zoom account because we use that for authentication, so we don't have to have a password. So that keeps the little munchkins down a little bit and keeps us from getting bombed so much. But anyway, come join us sometime. We'll just talk about recovery and how the Tao relates to recovery. If we don't know what the Tao is, the Tao Te Ching is a path of virtue, is the basic translation of that. You could have a Tao of anything. It's the path of. The Tao of recovery would be the path of recovery. You'll see that in a lot of book titles. But it really is a lot of acceptance, a lot of just everyday examples from nature that point us toward the principles that we find in recovery, the principles of surrender, the principles of letting go, the principles of reciprocity, where, we get back what we give, all those things. So today we're going to talk about the 27th verse and how it relates to our recovery. Anyone have a translation they would like to read?
Buddy, I'll read the Derek Lynn.
Okay.
Good traveling does not leave tracks. Good speech does not seek faults. Good reckoning does not use counters. Good closure needs no bar and yet cannot be opened. Good knot needs no rope and yet cannot be untied. Therefore, the sages often save others. and so do not abandon anyone. They often save things, and so do not abandon anything. This is called following enlightenment. Therefore, the good person is the teacher of the bad person. The bad person is the resource of the good person. Those who do not value their teachers and do not love their resources, although intelligent, they are greatly confused. This is called the essential worker. Thanks.
Thanks, Brian. I'll read Stephen Mitchell's. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent upon arriving. A good artist lets his intuition lead him wherever it wants. A good scientist has freed himself of concepts and keeps his mind open to what is. Thus, the master is available to all people and doesn't reject anyone. He is ready to use all situations and doesn't waste anything. This is called embodying the light. What is a good man but a bad man's teacher? And what is a bad man but a good man's job? If you don't understand this, you will get lost, however intelligent you are. It is the great secret.
I'll do the Ron Hogan.
Yeah, go ahead.
With enough practice, you could come and go without a trace, speak without stumbling over words, do complicated math problems in your head. You could build a door with no lock that nobody could open. You could tie something down with no knots, without even a rope, and nobody could pry it loose. Masters have time to help everybody and ignore nobody. They use their resources wisely, wasting nothing. Some people call this following the light. Good people teach others because they have the potential to be good too. Brains count for nothing if you fail to respect your teachers or to honor the potential in others. That's one of the most important lessons of Tao.
Honor the potential in others.
Isn't that the sign of a good leader? Somebody that coaches and develops and brings people on, even if it means they're going to be better than them at one point or at one stage. There's a massive difference between a leader and a boss.
And I also entitled it, All is Your Teacher, is my title from before. Let me go ahead and read the Jonathan Snow, verse 27.
Jon Snow is in.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jonathan Starr.
Did
I do it again?
What was that? Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones.
Sorry. Did I do it again? Jonathan Starr. Oh my God. I was thinking about buddy, don't do it. Don't do it, buddy.
Yeah, but he did it.
But he did it and didn't even know he did it. Actually, after I said, good. I didn't say the wrong thing. I thought to myself. All right. Verse 27, Jonathan Starr. A knower of the truth travels without leaving a trace, speaks without causing harm, gives without keeping an account. The door he shuts, though having no lock, cannot be opened. The knot he ties, though using no cord, cannot be undone. The sage is always on the side of virtue, so everyone around him prospers. He is always on the side of truth, so everything around him is fulfilled. The path of the sage is called the path of illumination. He who gives himself to this path is like a block of wood that gives itself to the chisel. Cut by cut, it is honed to perfection. Only a student who gives himself can receive the master's gift. If you think otherwise, despite your knowledge, you have blundered. Giving and receiving are one. They're called the great wonder, the essential mystery, the very heart of all that is true. He has a lot of good ones in that.
Wasn't there a name for the wooden block?
What do you mean?
I'm sure years ago we discussed this wooden block that you could make anything out of.
The uncarved block?
Something like that.
That's what it was called, the uncarved block, yes.
Buddy,
Are
I'll
we
read
still
Wayne Dyer.
Do what, Brian?
I said I'll read Wayne Dyer.
Okay.
It's 27th verse. A knower of the truth travels without leaving a trace, speaks without causing harm, gives without keeping an account. The door he shuts, although having no lock, cannot be opened. The knot he ties, though using no cord, cannot be undone. Be wise and help all beings impartially, abandoning no one. Waste no opportunities. This is called following the light. What is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? If the teacher is not respected and the student is not cared for, confusion will arise. However clever one is, this is the great secret. I was looking in here at the commentary from Dr. Wayne Dyer, and it says Lao Tzu advises you to give without keeping an account or expect something in return, for this is the nature of the Tao, and you are of the Tao.
Well, that's like Starr said that the sage is always on the side of virtue. So everyone around him prospers. Virtue's love.
Yeah.
So it's not that to say that the Tao is on the side of the sage. It's the sage is on the side of the
Tao.
Okay, the Tao is always on the side of virtue. Always, always, always. So what we have to do is get on the side of virtue. And that's what recovery does for us, really.
Yeah.
Gets our fear out of the way.
Yeah.
So we can actually love someone without hooks. We can be kind without expecting things in return.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to do that before.
You have to give it away to keep it.
Yeah. I wasn't able to before. I didn't know how. I was always, every action of mine was to protect or pacify a fear. And that doesn't work. I like this too, where he says he gives himself to this path. Like a block of wood, like the uncarved block, gives himself to the path. That's so much different than trying to work the path.
Yeah.
Do we give ourselves to recovery, or are we trying to work recovery real hard? Big difference.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people saying there's so much work involved in doing the steps. And you're like, no, there's not. All you do is do the steps.
We give ourselves to the steps, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. You surrender to it.
Surrender. There's that word again.
And, it's interesting when you surrender, and I know this is being nitpicky with words, and I know it is.
But here we go.
I used to think that it was my higher power, my God, whatever name I want to put on it, that helped me with things, helped me with my recovery, helped me with whatever I prayed and believed, and I was helped. But that didn't work for my drinking. Not until I gave myself to alcohol. I said, I can't fight you anymore. All of a sudden, the desire left, and I couldn't get my head around why that worked for a long time. But what I realized was, well, if you're in the military and you're in a war and you're beaten and you surrender to the enemy, what do? You stop fighting.
Yep.
First of all. Secondly, you lay down all your weapons. You don't hold any back. And you no longer fight. That is surrender.
Precisely.
So we have to do the same thing with in recovery. We have to give ourselves to it. So we say, okay, well, if we do that, does that mean we drink all the time? I said, no, it does not mean that. Because once I did that, I realized what my real job was. The way I surrender is by helping someone else. I go to a meeting. I start working the steps. I learn to be a little vulnerable. I learn to be honest with another person, not share all of my crap in a meeting like on TV. That's not how it is. That's not how we do AA. We don't talk about personal things in an AA meeting. We only talk about personal things to our sponsors. Not everybody talking about how bad their day was. No, that's just, I see that. I'm like, that's bullshit. That's not the way it works. Y'all do that too? I fuss at the TV when I see that stuff. I said, that's not the way AA is. But
anyway. It's funny because if we're watching stuff and like an AA meeting comes on TV, they'll turn and says, "Is that what you do, Dad?"
Usually it's no. Yeah, and so, but we start working these steps to help us to where we can let go. We can learn how to, because we're not taught to surrender in life. That's the last thing. There's nothing about our lives at all. We're taught to work harder, do better, double down.
And it's all about me. It's all about you. So it's all about, put you number one.
Yeah.
Then maybe help someone, Craig, once you have it figured out. Go help somebody else then.
Yeah. 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 But that's always been the attitude. You have to succeed in life. I think the values of what we need to do to succeed in life are a bit jaded, and I think pushed from an early age onto the wrong side of things.
Pull yourself up. What is it? By your bootstring. All those sayings.
Yeah.
But it's all about push, push, push. Fight, fight, fight. No surrender of any kind. So then we see here, though, this text is full of surrender, isn't it? First of all, the knower of truth travels without leaving a trace, speaks without causing harm, gives without keeping an account. That means there's no agenda. That means there's kindness and consideration, right?
Yep.
And because he's on the side of virtue, the door he shuts, even though it has no lock, it can't be opened. That's not him sitting there doing that. The knot he ties, though using no cord, it cannot be undone.
I see a lot of steps 6 and 7 in this. So obviously the principles of the steps are the opposite of their character defects.
Yeah. We really do have to give ourselves to this program. It says cut by cut, the block is honed to perfection because the block gives itself to the chisel. We give ourselves to whatever path, what we have going on. There's some open-mindedness there. Only the student who gives himself can receive the master's gift. We have to give to receive. If I think I have everything figured out, I will never hear the answer. I have to come at life from an open-mindedness that produces, that shows me the solutions I'm looking for. My real job, so to speak, is to get in a position to hear and be aware. It's not really to accomplish anything. It's accomplished for me. Yeah, if you think otherwise, despite your knowledge, you have blundered. Giving and receiving are one. Wow. That's powerful.
I keep thinking about that uncarved block.
The what?
The uncarved block.
Oh.
Do we need to go back to the subtitles thing? Is that what it is? Are we not meeting enough anymore that we need translation again?
You're not talking to Americans enough to where your Scottish is getting is rougher.
That could be what it is. Yeah, I'm
maybe trim your beard so that your words come out.
It's wisdom. It's wisdom that grows this beard. So every single day, do we start off as that uncarved block, and our experiences during that day carve us into something new? And then overnight it resets, so we get another day to maybe work on how we want to be carved.
Okay. Yeah,
it could kind of be like a Groundhog Day, and it goes to the part in the big book says we're not cured of alcoholism. What we have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. So every single day it resets, and we have another opportunity to do the best that we can for everybody else.
Yeah, I can see that, because the uncarved block is an intention. You're saying that I am open, that I'm giving myself to whatever is going on. Then you have the opportunity, as you give yourself, for you to be formed.
Yeah. Because I'm not forming myself. I'm not carving. I like there's a graphic that I saw, and it's a guy, and he's made a rock, and he's chiseling it himself. He's chiseling himself into what he wants to be. But I think with that uncarved block, I see everybody else chiseling me into what I am. So my interactions with people and how I am with everybody else, they get to carve a little bit out of this block into what they see.
Yeah. But you can't be carved if you're not giving yourself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, that's good. It's interesting how Stephen Mitchell took this too, and he said that when I first read, thus the master is available to all people. Before that, he says he keeps his mind open. And he says, because of all this, he's available to all people. I thought, okay, for him to give, I was thinking, but that's not really the way he translated it. He says he doesn't reject anyone. He's ready to use all situations. It's really, he doesn't reject people who bring him correction. He doesn't reject teachers, is the way Mitchell went with this. So he's ready to use all situations and doesn't waste anything. This is called embodying the light. And he's talking about he doesn't waste any opportunity to learn, is the way I read that, nor any opportunity to teach. Either one. Yeah, that's good.
I like that, opportunities to learn, as opposed to an opportunity for me to strip my stuff and say, right, everybody listen to me.
Derek Lynn says the sages do not give up on anyone. Everyone plays a role and everyone has an impact. Good individuals can serve as teachers and examples for us. Not so good individuals are just as useful because we can observe the consequences of their negative actions and learn what not to do.
I have a person at work, and I've probably mentioned them about 100 times.
Really? You have an issue with work?
No, not work, but not work, but somebody at work. Work is fine. It's just there's somebody. Just the same somebody for the past 20 odd years. And it's just exactly what Brian was saying. Any interaction with I have him, he teaches me how not to be with people. He teaches me how not to treat people. He teaches me that I can do so much better than the way that he interacts with people. I see a lot of people coming away from interactions from a place of fear rather than coming away from a place of love. So as I going into an appraisal meeting and he beats you down and you come out feeling worse than you did when you went in, rather than the exact opposite of how the appraisal should be. You're supposed to come out feeling motivated, energized, and want to go out and do stuff. But you come out and think, holy fuck, why did I go in? What did I do this for? So this person to me, and people find it funny because they say, like, why do you still talk to him? Why do you still interact with him? And when I say to them, like, he teaches me so much, they're kind of confused. And when I explain, like, he shows me how not to be with people. If I ever behave like that, if I'm ever like that towards you, then you know what? I really hope you pull me up and say, look, Craig, that's not how you are. So I think everybody can teach us something. And I love the part about, what is a good man, but a bad man's teacher.
Yeah.
I think there is so much steps 6 and 7 in this.
Everyone has their place, right?
Yep. Everybody is a spiritual teacher of some sort for us, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're the bug and sometimes we're the windshield, right? I remember that.
Yeah. It's actually funny because I like using this sort of phraseology around about Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year when we have to put up with people that we wouldn't normally sit around with like Uncle Buck or whoever you guys call him, you know, sit around, he's sitting giving his opinions on this and, you know, how you should be doing this and how you should be doing that. And, you know, if I was in charge of this country, I would be doing this, that, and the other. You're like, yeah, okay then, you know, I just have to love you, Uncle Buck.
Oh, yours would be Uncle Seamus or something, right?
Uncle Seamus, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yes.
That's good. Any other comments, guys?
Seamus is more Irish. It'd probably be Angus or something like that.
Angus.
We had a competition to name one of the research vessels for. It's like a submarine that was going down, and it was David Attenborough put out. You know, we need a name for this thing. So they made the stupid mistake of putting it to the public, and we came up with Boaty McBoatface as the name of this submersible. And they went with the majority, so Boaty McBoatface. So anything with a muck in front of it is usually good Scottish. So Boaty McBoatface.
Yeah, I hear Angus and I think of AC/DC. So, and there's
yeah. I thought they were Australian.
No, they came from Scotland though. They immigrated.
Oh, okay.
So, you don't know who that is, Craig? Don't give me that.
They done Thunderstruck, didn't they?
They did a lot of music better than that before, you know, back in the 70s.
The when?
The decade you were born.
So I was on the end of that decade. But Callum did remind me that I was born in the 1900s.
Anything else, guys? That's a good conversation today. What nugget did you guys? What's your biggest nugget? Brian, you got something? Go ahead.
You know, I was actually going to share. I really liked Craig's story about work. You know, and always trying to learn from somebody. I've got a similar situation with a customer, and he actually a couple of weeks ago he was telling me one day that he really raised hell with his guys, you know, and a few days later I stopped by and he says and let me back up. I see a lot of the old Brian in this guy because I used to be that way. And anyway, a few days later I stopped in and he tells me about how well things are going and everybody's doing a good job. And I said, well, did you tell them? And he says, no, man, you don't do that. You don't do that. And I just thought, just kind of shook my head, you know. And so, yeah, I really got a lot from this conversation. I appreciate it.
See, what frustrates me about this person at work is he's very two-faced. So he'll say things to you on a one-on-one, but he'll say better things like in a group setting. So we now have a WhatsApp. I have so many WhatsApp groups. I've got a WhatsApp group for every store that I do work for. And I've got all the recovery groups and different bits and bobs. So this guy actually started a WhatsApp group for his team. And he came on the other day. He was like, you know, fantastic day. We've done so much target and we took so much money and this, that, and the other. Everybody done an absolutely fantastic job. And you talk to him the next day and it's like, you know, we really need to be doing harder. You know, you should be working hard on this, that, and I'm like, what happened? You went from being this, you know, motivational guy to this guy that's just beating you with a stick. And I think it goes back to the pushing things. You know, sometimes the harder we push, the more likely something is going to break. And I see this in teams. The more a boss pushes and pushes and pushes, he's going to break his team rather than mold them into what the potential that they have. But I love this verse. It's a great tool to use in the work situations, and obviously for step 6 and 7. I keep going back to 6 and 7. Somebody was asking me the other day, says, "Look, you know, what's the crux of your program?" And for myself, it has to be working step 6 and 7, recognize my defects of character, and there's not much in the big book about working step 6 and 7, but really what we're doing is identifying the defects of characters that we have and turning them over, practicing the opposite of what we have. And when I think of step 6 and 7, I think to myself, my way of doing 6 and 7 is, step 6 is, am I willing to work this program to the best of my ability? And step 7 is, go on then, do it. We've made that conscious decision that this is what we're going to be doing. So I see a lot of that in this step as well. Again, the good man's teacher, the good man is the bad man's teacher, and the likes.
Stephen Mitchell gave 3 things at the first of his translation that would really help us see how to give ourselves up to something. It said that the good traveler has no fixed plan, is not intent on arriving. In other words, no real expectations. You might have a plan, but it's not fixed. You don't get upset if it doesn't go exactly the way that you got it planned to go.
Almost like the journey, not the destination.
Yeah. The second one is that the good artist lets his intuition lead him. So in other words, can we let our intuition lead us? Big Book talks about that. That becomes a working part of the mind. Promises will be amazed. How does it say it?
We'll intuitively know how to handle situations that we never
used to baffle us.
And then thirdly, it says the good scientist freed himself of concept and keeps his mind open to what is acceptance.
Yeah.
So you've got low expectations, you've got intuitive leading, and you've got acceptance with an open mind. That's all the things that and then we can start opening ourselves up to things. When things present themselves to us, instead of us fighting them, we'll say, oh, okay, is this an opportunity for me to change, or is this an opportunity to share experience for someone else?
Yep.
I'm a fan of the low expectations. That way I can never be disappointed.
There you go.
I'm still working on that, Craig. I still get disappointed,
Really?
I do. Sometimes in sponsees, but not that often.
Anyone in particular?
One in particular I want to mention.
They say expectations are premeditated resentments.
They are. Thank you, Brian. That's a good one.
Yeah, for me.
Well, they are.
I really have that with sponsees, and one of them came back after a serious relapse. And he's like, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm like, well, you didn't disappoint me. I have absolutely no expectations whatsoever. That way I can never be disappointed in anything you guys do.
Let me tell my story. I haven't told this in a long time. This is a good one. I had a friend of mine, this actually happened to him. He kept doing business with his brother, and his brother kept screwing him and cheating him on money. He'd do it, and his sponsor said, just stop doing business with him. Yeah, I know. And he'd keep doing it over and over and over again. And his sponsor told him, he says, do you have a gun? He said, yeah, do you think I should shoot myself? He says, no, shoot me. I'm tired of hearing this. He said, I never mentioned it to my sponsor again. I was like, good. But it is about being open-hearted, being available, and having that attitude of kindness and being of help. It's all of those things and it's so easy. Our part is we don't have to push and do all of that responsibility, fear-driven action. And in hindsight, when I did that, it really didn't help anything anyway. Things worked out many times. Those things just got in the way. They didn't help anything. My push very rarely brought any results whatsoever. Yeah, that's good, guys. Thank you.
Are you saying that I don't have to be the director?
You can just be a caddy on the course.
Is that a basketball reference? Or is it?
Golf caddy.
Golf.
That's what my sponsor.
It's a basketball caddy.
Yes, basketball. It's football. Football. OOT. Not
Soccer.
All right, guys. Well,
All right.
y'all, anything else?
No, it's genius.
Good meeting. Thank you. And maybe in a 9 p.m. Eastern sometime this month, or in a 4 p.m. Thursday. Always Eastern time. And then we'll do another recording the first of next month. And maybe since they'll make it next month, on second thought, I don't think I emailed him. I think it's my fault. I'll have to talk to him about that. So you guys have a great week.
Yep, you too.
We'll see y'all soon.
Hello, this is Buddy C. I wanted to make you aware of several recovery-related resources that I've posted in the episode description. These resources include a list of recovery podcasts, a free sober meditation app, daily recovery email, shared Google recovery calendars. Hope you put some of these resources to use and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends in recovery.